So how does a life insurance trust work? I'm Michael Redden, and if you have any questions or comments about this topic, please put them down there below. If you'd like to plan with me, then go to reddenlawoffice.com and click on schedule a meeting. So life insurance trusts, a lot of folks start hearing about these when they're thinking about doing estate tax planning or they're thinking about protecting their money and things like that. Essentially, a life insurance trust is any kind of trust that can hold and own life insurance. So just like we talked about things before, just because you hear a certain trust name doesn't mean that's the only thing the trust does. Anytime you hear about life insurance trust, retirement trust, cabin trust, all of those things are just features. That just means that a trust has the feature that it can hold a cabin, it's going to keep it in the family. It has a feature that can hold a retirement account. It has a feature that can own life insurance. That means that's what that trust has. They could be any number of different trusts. Your retirement trust could also be allowed to own life insurance, and it would be both. So kind of keep thinking along those lines. Essentially, there are two reasons why we're going to have a life insurance trust. The first reason is usually for the estate tax, because when we die, that life insurance death benefit, and sometimes that could be $2 million, $3 million, $500,000, $100,000, any of those amounts. That death benefit it pays on death is going to be included in your gross estate and be taxed. So if you aren't taxable and you're just sitting around there, maybe you got $300,000 or $400,000, but you purchased a $2 million life insurance policy back when your kids were born, and then you pass away, that $2 million can come down and that can push you up, and depending on where the estate tax is, you might be taxed. One of the ways to prevent that from happening is to have that insurance policy inside this type of a trust. This trust is written so that anything inside of it doesn't get taxed by the estate tax. If you take a policy you've got right now, an existing one, and put it in there, so long as you live for 3 years, it won't be taxed. If you make the trust when you're going to go buy the policy and the trust buys it from the beginning, then it's never going to be taxed and it'll be just fine. The other issue that we kind of come across is asset protection. A lot of people don't realize this, but your life insurance that you own, if you ever get sued, Minnesota only protects a little bit under $10,000 of that cash value. So even while you're alive, if you get sued and things, people might take your life insurance. The next thing that people really don't realize in Minnesota is that the death benefit isn't really that protected. If you leave part of that death benefit, if you die and the insurance company pays $2 million out to your kids and they've got creditors or a divorce and things happens, that's all fair game. Your spouse with dependent children underneath them gets some protection, but it's not much. It's under $50,000 for your spouse and under $12,000 per kid. So if you're a wife with 2 kids, you may only get to protect about $80,000 or so of that money. The rest of it is going to be subject to creditors and things like that, and that can cause issues, because if they don't have enough money to kind of live and get by, creditors need to come out. You may have intended that to pay for their school and their education, but because your family had a little bit harder time, that could be at risk. So those are the kind of main reasons, and the reasons why you want to think about that is the life insurance trust does just about like every other kind of trust does, right? It protects the money. You get to talk about when it comes out, what it comes out for. It gets to be invested and looked at, and gets to kind of have that professional eye on it. Whereas if you just give the money outright, there could be people taking advantage of your heirs, there could be creditors, there could be divorce. What if your spouse remarries and all that money from your life insurance that you were hoping to take care of her and the kids ends up in the same bank account as her and the new spouse? And then she passes away. He may get it all because she may give it all to him, just like you left everything to her. Or differently, what if that new spouse gets a divorce, and then all of that money that was from your life insurance is now subject to that divorce and they can walk away with it, and you intended to take care of your kids, but it was never able to do so? That's another reason why a life insurance trust might be used. So the 3 basic reasons that life insurance trusts are used are to handle the estate tax, they are to protect the life insurance itself from your creditors and your divorce, and also to protect the life insurance from the creditors of your kids, from remarriage of your spouse, the creditors of your spouse, and your spouse's divorce, and your kid's divorce. It's really just a good idea anytime we have these larger sums of money that they end up in a trust for those things that we don't really see happening. Now, you may think to yourself, my kids, they're fine. They're not going to get a divorce. If they have creditors and things like that, that's their problem. But I'm telling you that it happens more often than you think. And what about if you had grandkids? Wouldn't you want that money to go for your grandkids? Because when you're gone, you don't know what's going to happen with your kids and things like that. And if you got this big policy, it just makes a lot more sense to put it into that part. It also can be used to pay for your last illness and some of those other last and final bills and provide liquid money to your estate. If you're going to have the house sold or things like that, or some liens paid off of those things, that life insurance policy inside that trust might be able to be used for that because it's still going to benefit your heirs and you can keep more things in the family. So those are some of the main reasons we'll have a life insurance trust, and that's kind of how it works. You're going to give money to the trust each year. The trust is going to pay the premiums on the policy, and then when you pass away, that money is going to come on down through. And you typically are not a beneficiary of this life insurance trust, because if you were, then money might come back into your estate. And second part is it's life insurance, okay? If you bought it to replace your income and protect people after you were gone, then you weren't intending to benefit really from that life insurance policy. When you passed away, you were intending for the heirs to have it, so you're not going to be a beneficiary of that thing anyway. You don't want to put life insurance policies in here that were intended to be your retirement plan. Some people will get a life insurance policy from their employment, or they'll buy one with their financial advisor and use it for some other tax deferral things, intending to take the money out for when they retire, intending to take the money out to pay for kids' college while they're alive. That's not the type of policy you want to put in here. It's that one for when you die. It's going to have those kinds of planning things. So if you have any questions or concerns about it, please leave it in the comments below. And if you want to plan with me, please go to reddenlawoffice.com and click on schedule a meeting.